This video explains how to play Pisces, a high-stakes fishing competition from Extronaut Enterprises. Today we are demonstrating the game using our virtual interface on Tabletopia. In this example, we're going to play one turn on the 4-player setup we showed you in a previous video. A game of Pisces is played in 6 turns, and turns occur in 8 separate phases. Phase 1 is about establishing the tournament goals and moving the turn marker. The tournament goals are determined by flipping the top card from each of the tournament decks face up. Any player that catches both species shown on the tournament cards collects a tournament trophy chip worth 10 points. When the same species is shown, players must catch 2 of that species to win the tournament. Next, move the turn marker 1 space forward on the turn number track. A game of Pisces is played in 6 turns. Phase 2 is where players perform their management actions. In this phase, players decide which part of their fishery to protect. Starting with the first player, each player places their management block on 1 stack of fish chips on their fishery board. Proceeding clockwise around the table, each player places their management block on 1 stack of fish chips of their choice in their own fishery. Phase 3 is fleet movement. In this phase, players choose where to fish this turn. Players can either place their boats in the center of a fishery board to go after that species, or on the open ocean board to target the spawning grounds of all species. The first player distributes their boats across the fishery board and the open ocean boards in any way they choose. In this example, the gray player is attempting to win the tournament, so places 1 of their boats in the crab fishery and 1 boat in snapper. Boat placement then proceeds clockwise. Here, the orange player chooses to fish the open ocean and tuna, and the other players make their decisions accordingly. Phase 4 is fishing. In this phase, players catch fish by rolling dice. Beginning with the first player, players roll dice for each one of their fishing boats. Players roll 1 or 2 dice per boat, depending on the area fished. 2 dice are rolled when fishing sardines or crab. In this example, the gray player is fishing in the crab fishery and rolls the 2 orange dice. If the dice outcome match a green catch icon, the player collects 1 stack of chips. The player gets all the chips in a given spot, whether it is 1 fish or many. If the outcome matches a red catch and release icon, the fish is not caught. Instead, the chips are placed back in the center of the fishery board. When multiple stacks have the same possible outcome, in this example, 3 different stacks correspond to a 6, the player may select 1 stack of fish chips of their choice. When a player catches both species in a single turn shown on the tournament cards, they collect a tournament trophy chip for a bonus 10 points. More than 1 player can win the tournament each round. When fishing the open ocean, players roll the white die. If the outcome matches a number in the reroll section, they roll again until matching an outcome token corresponding to an active fishery. They then collect any stack of their choice in the spawning ground of that fishery. When fishing, if a dice outcome corresponds to a stack of chips with a management block on it, then the fish are not caught. Instead, the player who placed the management block on that location receives a gold star conservation token for each blocked fish chip. And remember, the player with the most gold star tokens at the end of the game receives a 20-point bonus. Players stack all their caught fish point side up in a catch pile below their fishery board. Fishing proceeds clockwise until all players have finished. Phase 5 is return to port. After all players have fished, they retrieve their boats and management blocks from the board. Then, the 2 face-up tournament cards are removed from the game. Phase 6 is boat building and gear purchases. Players may spend their hard-earned fish points to either purchase an additional boat or gear to enhance their fishing capabilities. Players can purchase any number of gear cards at a minimum cost of 10 points per card. Once gear is purchased, the bonus stated on the card is available to the purchaser for each subsequent turn. Each card may be used only once per round. Players may purchase more than one copy of a card. Players may purchase their third boat at a minimum cost of 20 points in fish chips. The reason the boat and gear costs are minimum prices is because no change is given on a purchase. In this example, the gray player wants to purchase their third boat. They turn in their tournament chip, snapper chip, and crab chip for a total value of 22 points. The player returns the snapper and crab chips back to the fishery boards and the tournament chip back to the tournament stack. The player's third fishing boat is now available for fishing in all future turns in the game. Phase 7 is the species life cycles. The position and amount of chips available to catch in each fishery changes as the fish go through their life cycles. On each fishery board, fish chips are grouped by life stage and move from one stage to the next each turn. The number of life stages varies by species from 2 to 4. All species move clockwise. The arrows on the board are numbered by order of movement. When moving chips from one stage to the next, distribute the chips evenly among the open spots, beginning with the highest dice outcome first. This example will move through the tuna life cycle. Step 1 is mortality. Remove all fish chips in the spawning grounds and stack them in the center of the fishery board. Step 2 is spawn migration. Move the fish chips in the adult foraging areas on the left side of the board to the spawning grounds at the top of the board. In this example, only 2 tuna chips are migrating from the adult foraging area, so only 2 spawners are available to catch next turn. Step 3 is maturity. Move the fish chips from the juvenile rearing habitat on the right side of the board to the adult foraging area. Step 4 is reproduction. Add new fish chips from the stack in the center of the board to the first stage of the life cycle. The number of chips to add is shown on each board under reproduction, based on the total number of fish chips in the spawning grounds. In this example, there are 2 chips in the tuna spawning grounds. They produce 4 juveniles. Since there are only 2 locations, each stack receives 2 chips. Phase 8 is first player bidding. Players may spend their points to receive the lucrative first player token, which goes to the highest bidder and provides a major advantage next turn. Bidding starts with the player to the left of the current first player and proceeds clockwise until all players pass on bidding. Players bid by placing their bid markers on one spot of the bidding region on the open ocean board. Players can only bid values that can be covered with exact points. In this example, the orange player bids 7 points, the value of 1 snapper chip. The blue player responds by bidding 9 points, 1 crab and 1 sardine chip. After bidding is complete, the winner pays their bid value and collects the first player token. Then all players retrieve their bid markers. If no one bids, the first player token passes to the left. A game of Pisces ends after 6 turns of fishing. At the end of the game, the player with the most gold star tokens receives an Excellence in Fisheries Management award, worth 20 points. Players that tie each receive an award. Fish chips, tournament chips, and management awards held by each player are added together to get a total final score. And the player with the highest score at the end of the game wins. In the case of a tie, the player with the highest number of different species wins. Pisces is a fun, interactive fishing game for you to examine the dynamics between the fishing sport we all love and the different fish species life cycles and fishery management conservation actions. Run a fishery, manage a fish stock, catch fish, and have fun.